Welcome to Dear Young Queen, the podcast.
All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
And we're rolling.
That's fine.
Rolling.
Look how cute, though. Honestly, the best perk that people don't want to talk about, but it's such a perk, is that $15 Uber credit that your Amex gives you every month. Do you have your Amex connected to your Uber?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. It's like nothing and like maybe might get you to the corner, but nonetheless, every time I get the notification, I'm like,
You're like,
thank
yes.
you. I need this.
We need
to be reimbursed.
I love that.
Yeah, you figure out your credit card perks for sure.
There's like amazing Instagram accounts too that give you all these hacks.
Really?
I mean, I'm
Yes.
not on TikTok because I
Yes.
feel like I'm old as fuck, but like
TikTok
you know,
is really
I know
where
it's really
every hack for anything
I know
in the
you
world.
can find everything, but fortunately, some people bring it to Instagram for.
I do. I was just about to say, I like to do the little, like, it's a 2-for-1, where they have the TikTok on Instagram.
That's exactly right. I'm like, yes, post it to both people.
Yes.
Post it to both.
Use all your social channels,
Yes.
please. If we're feeling too old for TikTok, are we the family members that we clowned about
Facebook?
Are we them?
You know what, though? I think that Instagram is going to be around for a long time, like with all these like TikTok bans that are happening.
That's true.
Where is that going to go? Like, yeah, like maybe we are, but like, I don't know. I feel like Instagram's here to stay.
But remember when Instagram was just a picture and a caption?
I know.
I was one of the ones from back in the day that
like
was
2012.
like, here's a picture. And then where you put in the caption where you were. You didn't have the location.
Yeah. Like at Scarpetta.
Yeah.
Right.
Wine glass.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Dad, those
were the days.
Those were
It was
the
super
days.
simple.
No, the days were when there was none of it.
That's right. That's true.
I don't even know how Twitter works anymore.
I'm not even on Twitter at all.
You
Never
get
been.
on Twitter, it's like you don't even understand what the buttons do.
No,
Not anymore.
I'm like, be careful.
No.
I'm like, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything.
I'll be the one that'll mess around and hit something and then accidentally send something out. So that's one of my biggest fears, though, is that.
Is joking on ourselves about how we're getting old the way that we deal with getting old?
I think I love getting old.
You do.
I do. I love it. I'm like all about aging gracefully right now. Like,
Okay.
Like, have you seen the meme out there that it's like, I'm not going to apologize for getting wiser, smarter, finer,
Correct.
fitter, better, all of it. I'm here for all of it,
supposed to.
and I want every drop that life has for me, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I want everything that it has for
Absolutely.
me, the good, the bad, all the in-between stuff. I want it. I want it all.
My mom always says, like, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
She's like, you're going to get another year older, so get better, or you don't.
Yeah.
So like, what are we really fighting about with age? On this platform, we've been trying to bring women of all ages, from all different backgrounds. And Alexis and I had an episode just the other week. It was just her and I chit-chatting about how much we love including the younger women
Yeah.
into the conversations.
Yeah.
But there is something that it reiterates in us and having the conversations like, damn, we've really grown.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
damn, I really learned so much. It's like,
Right.
I remember being right there. And you may, to a younger one, maybe eons ahead of where I was at that age because they have so much access now. But like, as I sit here and listen to you, I'm proud of my evolution.
Oh, that's
I'm
amazing.
proud of, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying? How
yes.
far I've come. It's not until you really sit down with another younger woman that you're like, you're going to be all right, girl. Because
Totally.
And
look
I
at
feel
where
like
I
we
am
all
now.
feed off of each other, and we can, when you're honest, I feel like when you have honest conversation with your peers, because now it's teaching us not to either make that same mistake or kind of like have a shortcut.
Yeah.
They can help you out a little bit, give you a little shortcut.
Yeah, and I totally feel like there's used to be a lot more competitiveness amongst women, and their
Yes.
ageism, where like young women were like, "You're old as fuck,"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
like older women would like really hate on younger women.
Yeah, there was a
Yes.
jealousy attached.
like a jealousy situation, and I was with a man who was so much older than me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I would get like shade from a lot of women.
from the women that are his age.
His age, right? And like there was a lot of shade that
Yep.
would come with that.
Yep.
And I remember thinking like, that's not cute. Like that's not a cute look. Like I don't want to be
Like,
that
That's
person.
heavy.
I'm like, do you know how beautiful it is to be young? You know how wonderful it is to be young and not know everything?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
as much as I'm like, I love being this age, I love getting older, I love growing. I see women younger than me and I'm like, shine, mama. Like, I want you to shine.
Yo,
Like,
that's
yes.
me.
I'm like,
Yeah.
live in
I'm
your
like,
20s. You better live.
Yes.
I like, girl,
You
and
know?
don't forget to do this.
I'm like, yeah, you better work. Like, you better
Because
do
we
this
feeling
stuff.
it. I'm feeling it now at this age. Like the recovery's not the same.
Bed by 10.
Yeah, you're like, so
Skincare.
enjoy all of that. all that
But
fun
Lex,
stuff.
if honesty
Yes.
is what you want,
Yeah.
then I think we have the right guest on the show today.
Yes.
Who we got sitting next to us today in Casa Lex?
We have Miss Nikki hanging with us, and she is the creator and the innovator for the Know with Nikki Spo.
Thank you for allowing me the space to be here.
Yes, yes.
And also, we have to give her, she has the cutest names for like her listeners and her guests on the show.
Yes.
They're truth seekers and
Yes.
truth speakers.
That's right.
Yes.
You're both.
Yes.
You're the
I try to
truth
be both.
speaker and seeker.
Always.
I love it. Lex,
Yes.
I would like you to maybe invite a friend that drinks. Because I'm getting tired of your mocktail.
Oh my God.
Getting tired of your mocktail.
Couldn't be more perfect. It couldn't be more perfect.
Karma in Casa Lex.
We'll be right back. Insert hold music.
So you talking all that shit about the mocktails. I think it's about time I need to start making you one because you over there fumbling and everything. But we're back. We're back.
Listen, I was a little excited, a little anxious.
I mean, I'm exciting. I'm
Yeah,
exciting.
I
know,
obviously-
You just couldn't help yourself.
Alexis, what is in here?
I'm gonna call this a dragon lady.
I love that.
And because the main base is this beautiful dragon fruit, I added that and some lemonade.
Okay.
And you have some Blanco tequila. That's what you have with yours. And you have just the lemonade.
I have just the deliciousness.
Yes.
Just lemonade.
It's
Is it gonna leave
so
my tongue
vibrant.
purple?
No.
Okay, all right.
What we're good.
I love
it's
it.
stain
So good.
free as we see.
I've been on mocktails for 3 years now. Hey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your kids are, how old are your kids?
5, 3, and 8 months old.
Okay, so the second one took you out.
The second one took me out. Like a lot of stuff took me out, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a no go. I got sober. Been
yes.
sober for 3 years.
Wow.
It's like pretty. Like,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm
That's
pretty
not-
that's
proud
huge.
of that.
That is not an easy feat.
It's not.
Girl, no.
Especially just being social.
It's like kind of hard just to like
Tough.
sit outside and not get a cocktail.
Listen, no.
Like,
it's really
why
hard.
would you patio
by
and
the
no
pool.
cocktail? Yeah, like,
Let me keep it
By the
super real.
beach.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's hard to be insecure and not drink. How about that? Part of me drinking, going out and drinking, I was like so insecure and uncomfortable in my own skin that I'm like, I needed to do that so that I could be fun at the party, so I could feel okay at the party, so I could be good on the boat. You know how amazing it is now that I can go on a boat and be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a vibe.
do you find yourself maybe turning down activities or things or leaving a little bit earlier?
I'm really intentional about everything that I do now. So like, I don't go to a bar just to hang out at a bar. If I'm going to be in a bar, I'm going to celebrate somebody's birthday. I'm here for a purpose. You know what I mean? Like, I can have so much fun with wasted people. Like, I'm here to
It doesn't
to have
bother-
fun.
it doesn't bother me
It doesn't
either.
bother me, but I'm like, is this fun for me or not? Like, and I can have an honest conversation and make an honest decision from that point where I'm like, okay, this is not fun anymore. Bye.
I definitely know that I use alcohol to ease my social anxiety.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Having a little drink that settles you down with social anxiety.
Oh, 100%.
Really?
I hate when people clown people for asking who's going to be there. I'm not asking because I'm nosy. I'm asking because I need to know my anxiety is running wild.
I'm
on
so like that.
So like
who
would
might be there, who I could run into,
Oh, okay.
who I haven't seen in a long time, who did I not call back?
No, I'm like running through like, okay, what am
see.
I going to talk about with these people?
I see.
Like, I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I need to know who's there,
I'm
what I have in
such the
common with them. I like such a
opposite.
plan about what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I need all of that.
Interesting.
And so that, or two, I rarely carry a clutch. Me carrying a clutch is bad because there's nothing for me to fidget with or hang on to. If I have a strapped bag or a shoulder bag, it gives me something to do.
play with.
A clutch, I'm stuck.
It's not a crutch.
It's not a crutch
Yeah.
at all. A clutch is
Yeah.
not a crutch.
Yeah.
And so it's like those little things, the alcohol, the bag, the whatever to just like warm you up to the act or performance, even if
Yes.
it is just being
Yeah,
yourself, it
yeah.
is still a performance. To have to go and entertain and talk to people and all of that.
Interesting.
I am being myself, but myself has to rev myself up to give you this performance, for lack of better words.
I noticed that if I drank before or pregame before, then I become more paranoid. When I show up, I fill out the room and I'm like trying to fill out everybody. I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on. I can go by myself anywhere. I can float around anywhere and just be, you know? So I don't have that. But
It's almost like you actually need the space to feel comfortable.
Yes.
For you to do that.
Correct.
I need to make the space comfortable before I can show up.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
Help me
Yeah.
get this.
Yes, yes.
I'm having more fun now than I ever had when I was drinking.
Really?
So if I dance on a table like today, I do exactly what I want to do when I want to do it. I'm not overthinking it. I'm not like thinking about it the next day. Like, oh my gosh, should I dance on that table? Like, hell yeah, I danced on that table. I chose
And you
in that
remember,
moment
and you
to dance on that
know.
table. You
Yeah.
know, and like we're talking about like I identify as an alcoholic, right? And I really want to share that because I think people need people that feel relatable to them to be like, oh, alcoholics are not just like bums who live under the bridge.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
they're normal people every day. Like they're doctors, teachers,
Yep.
moms, parents, whatever. Every like normal ass people who struggle with addiction.
Correct.
And so like my whole thing is like, I'm super comfortable with identifying as an alcoholic because I know that it helps other people. And like, I'm also living like my best life as
Now.
a sober woman.
What were the traits or things that made you say, I'm an alcoholic?
Well, I think that I drank as an alcoholic ever since I started drinking. Like my first drink when I
drank
was
to get drunk.
15 years old was to like escape my pain. The pain of being myself was so
Yes.
heavy that I was like,
Let me escape.
I need to escape it at all costs. I need to escape it.
Interesting.
And you know, and that was drugs too. Like
yeah.
here's something that I've actually come to learn. Like whether it was an upper or downer, right? And alcohol is a downer,
Yep.
ultimately. Drinking alcohol gave me permission to feel sad. Okay? And anything that made me up gave me permission to feel happy. Because in my world, the baseline, I didn't have permission to feel. I felt like I didn't have permission to feel my big ass feelings. I feel so largely, and like now I know that that's such a blessing. Like how privileged am I that I get to have the full gamut of feelings in this life. That like
Absolutely.
I will come to the end of my life and know that I felt every feeling.
Everything. Yes.
Like
yes,
and
yes,
that makes me feel so
empowered.
empowered and
Yeah.
grateful, you know?
I understand
But like
that.
back then I was like, no, you're not, Nikki's not allowed to feel these things. It's bad. Feeling these things is bad. And drinking or using gives me permission to feel the feelings.
And was that a pressure or something that you felt internally? Or were there external pressures that made you feel like you shouldn't feel
I think
these
both.
things?
And so like we judge ourselves sometimes for feeling these things, like not understanding. And as children, like we have the feelings, but like, do we always have somebody guiding us through the feelings and like working us through that? And it takes like a really healed parent
Yes.
or adult figure in your life to be able to do that. When in my case, like I didn't have a healed person walking me through those feelings. And so I felt like the act of having those big feelings was like bad. I have always thought to myself, well, first of all, I didn't want to have kids because of my relationship with my mom. And here I have 3. And I'm like, this is the best shit ever, right? Like I'm like,
always
Yes,
knows.
yeah,
yes,
God
yes.
knows. God
God
knows.
knows.
But like when I was pregnant with my first son, I was like, I gotta figure out this like soul relationship that I'm
Yes.
gonna have with this person, this soul contract that I'm gonna have with this little human. And I remember coming to a place where I was like, there is no hierarchy between my child and myself. I am not higher in a hierarchy. Like I am not above you. Like it is not my job to be above you, and my word is what it is.
Yes.
Like I view my children as souls that have come to this earth, this physical world, and I simply have more physical time in this. Like I have no idea how old this child's soul is.
Yeah.
Like
Interesting.
how old is
Yeah,
my
yeah,
soul?
yeah,
My
yeah,
presence
yeah.
here in this physical
so-
world is just longer. Therefore, I know more earthly things that I have the power to teach you and educate
Yes.
you on. But your soul is equal to mine.
That's right.
You know, it's so interesting. It's like,
like
when
that.
you initially said that, I was like, no. As you continue to flesh it out, I agree. But I do think in this world, as we are becoming so much more free and so much more open and learning all these new ways to do things, I sometimes believe that some of what respect and tradition is getting lost in that. Because let me tell you something, that hierarchy that doesn't exist in your household needs to exist when your child goes to school.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? And they're not equal to the teacher.
Right.
At all.
And their souls are not the same.
Yeah.
And all of those things. And it's like, so I struggle when I hear things like that because I very much grew up in a world where my mother was the adult authority figure. So much to the point that I want to raise my kids like this also. Like, we would go out of the house. My mom would be very clear. My job is not to watch you. Your job is to watch me. Because if you get lost, guess what happens? They take you to the police station to try to find your home. So you don't want to get lost. You need to follow me. Now, when you look at it, it's like, oh, that's crazy. You're making your kid do everything you do and da-da-da. But no, actually, it gave me a huge reality set.
Yeah.
Reality check that, like, this is my caretaker.
Right.
And I better hold on to her. Yeah. And I better
Yeah.
keep her close and keep her tight because she's going to want the best of me. And if I fall out of her grips, something could happen, which is where it gets dangerous.
Well, I think there has to be
Because
a
it's like-
balance.
Exactly.
Yeah, there definitely has to be a balance.
The other side of it, right, is that it made me overly dependent on my mom.
Sure.
It made me never think that she was wrong. It made me, like, it did a lot of things on the other side, but I don't exist in this world with authority problems. Friends' parents loved me, right? There were those things that you don't know you're doing by maintaining some of that authority.
Yeah.
Whatever. And obviously, I don't have children, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. All right. I only have.
I think that's okay.
You have
know what I
I
mean?
think that's okay, 100%.
You have experience.
Yeah, I
as
have-
being a child.
Thank you.
You
And
exactly.
that's
You
the
have-
childlike
and auntie,
experience
yeah,
I have.
absolutely.
When I have kids, I might sit next to you and be like, I could never. Like,
No, I think
see-
it's like a balance. I really do think it's a balance because then there's times where my kids try the hell out of me. You know what I mean? They try
They
me.
know.
I'm like, whoa.
They know. They
Whoa.
know. They know.
Right. I'm
know
like,
what they're
we're
doing.
not actually going to do that. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to do it. Yes, I see your soul and your soul is equal to mine, but we're not going to act like that.
Right.
And there's boundaries too. Like,
Yeah.
these are the boundaries that I'm
boundaries.
going to set for you, and then you can operate freely within them. Like, you cannot talk to me that
Correct.
way.
Absolutely.
You can share what's on your mind.
Absolutely.
But you
In
can't
this,
talk to me like
within
that.
this boundary, within this like pool
Great.
of what I'm
Yes.
setting for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
have to correct them. We have to
Yes.
set those boundaries. I'm in the teenager space
Yeah, right.
of them really saying, "This is who I am. I'm standing up," and they're woke, and they have facts, and they have statistics, and they have TikTok to let them know what X, Y. No, not in this household.
It's funny, you know, like I have major, you mentioned like not having any issues with authority. I had major issues with authority because like my mom was an addict, you know, and like she passed away last year and that I was estranged from her for a while. And I've made peace with her and her soul, which I'm grateful for. But like, for what it's worth, my mom was an addict and she would fall asleep at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening and I wouldn't have dinner. And I'm an only child. And like my dad was a firefighter, so he was sleeping at the fire station, you know? So I'm like here cleaning up after my mom, literally, and myself, and like figuring out how I'm gonna eat dinner. And God bless my dad, he was providing for us. Like I have no blame towards him, you know, and he was doing his best. But like I would be like, okay, Mom, I'm not listening to you. Dad, you're not here. I was like, everybody, I'm a teenager. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go home at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're like, you're going to be home actually, or you're going to be home at 12:30. I'm like, no.
See you at 4.
I'm actually going to see you right.
Yeah.
I'll be home at 3 because you can't tell me shit. Like you might pay my bills like that I live here, but like ain't nobody caretaking around here.
Yeah.
Who was that person in your life?
Me.
Only. No other family members, no
I
friends.
had other family members show up. Like, I have a moment that I like distinctly remember in my life as like I identify it as a big T trauma.
Okay.
And it was one night I'll never forget. I was 4. I was 4 years old, and my mom fell asleep in my bed, and I remember shaking her and being like, "Mommy, wake up, wake up, wake up," and she wouldn't wake up, and I thought that my mom was dead. And it was a really, really scary moment for me as a 4-year-old in my home by myself. My dad's at the fire station. I know he can't come home. So I dialed my grandmother's phone number, and back in the day, like I don't even know that I knew her phone number. I just kind of had memorized like the pattern of where it was on the phone. And I remember I was so little. My grandmother came over. It was my dad's mom. My mom's family lives in Puerto Rico, which I had the blessing of visiting last week. You know, getting to reconnect with her family and my roots. But my dad's mom showed up. I remember I was so little that I had to like get on a chair to unlock the door, and my grandmother showed up for me. But that was like a really scary moment that I remember, thinking that my mom had died, like, and being alone in my home. So like,
because the reality of what is life now is like instant.
Yeah.
It is like
I was
everything
terrified.
about life, food, shelter, like
Yes.
everything.
I was really scared.
despite how much she was or wasn't providing or showing up for you at that moment.
And I also want to say that there's so much duality in things. Like my mom was a great mom in so many other ways. Like she was a teacher at the school, you know, and she was a functioning alcoholic, and she showed up and she was like the one at the front and center of my dance shows cheering me on. You know, I think my mom was so much in her own pain that she didn't have the resources. She didn't talk about what happened to her. You know, and that's a book that I love, What Happened to You. She didn't talk about what happened to her. And so she coped in the only way that she could. And I like don't even blame her. Like I hold no more resentments towards her.
Alexis and I were listening to the pod, and you had mentioned you found more peace with her since her passing.
Yeah.
In understanding that there was not a physical body here that you could be angry at.
Yeah.
That you could be
Yeah.
mad, that you could
Right.
have the tension with. You don't have that option anymore.
I think that we all know that the generational trauma is real, and we see it
Yes.
in every system.
Yes,
Generational
everywhere.
trauma
So
is
prevalent.
a very, very real thing.
That's
and
right.
so I would be lying if I said I don't have any. I so have it. I so have generational trauma. I would be silly to sit here and say that I'm not passing any of it down to my children, because I am an imperfect person. I am still growing. I am still learning. And I think that like there's no like, my mom didn't know how I needed to be loved. They didn't know how I needed to. Like, I don't know. I don't have all the answers for my children. Like, there's still
But
parts
aren't we
of
all
me.
still trying to figure that out
Exactly.
today?
Exactly. Like,
How we
I
wanna
don't
be
know, like,
loved.
what I'm putting, my negative bullshit that I'm putting on my children.
Yes.
You know, that they're going to
them
take
later
that
on.
with them in their life, and that's going to be their
Yes.
worst case scenario. Like, hopefully I'm lightening the load in some capacity.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what I'm trying to do, is like
And
lighten the
that's my
load.
goal, too.
And that's
with
it.
the work that I'm doing on
And then
myself.
when your
Yes.
kids,
Yes.
they'll lighten it a little bit
like,
more.
maybe they lighten a little bit
and
more.
and each generation that goes
That's right.
on,
I just got
you-
chills. because I think that's what it's
that's
about.
a
It is.
revelation,
It is.
for
It's
sure.
about doing a little bit, just a tiny bit more. And I always say that, you know, particularly women, or it's the experience that I have, when you see your mother do something, we either totally embrace it and dive heads in, or we go opposite. Something stupid and simple. I used to wake up as a kid every morning. My mom would do 3 things: coffee, cigarette, C-SPAN. 3 C's. CCC.
What's C-SPAN?
C-SPAN is like a political channel.
Like a CNN.
Like a CNN that basically you just watch the House of Representatives and the Senate all
Yeah.
day.
I mean, the coffee and cigarettes sound pretty good.
Yeah.
Coffee,
Except
cigarettes,
for-
yeah.
Except for the cigarettes kill you.
And the smell
Sorry.
of that shit in the morning to
I know,
me
it
as a
sucks.
child.
I know, I
Like,
remember.
first thing.
Listen,
The first thing opening
first
your
thing.
eyes to be the smell of a cigarette and the smell of coffee.
I know.
To this day, I do not smoke cigarettes and I do not drink coffee.
Because you
right?
remember that.
That was
Damn.
a distinct thing. Wasn't anything trauma breaking. It
Right,
wasn't
sure.
anything like, but that was just enough for me to be like, I never want to do that.
Is it
right?
kind of like
so
a little
funny.
trigger then?
It is. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I smell coffee, it literally turns me off. I'm
You're
like,
like, meh.
Yeah.
I have shit to say. Hot bean water. Why are you drinking that shit? Like,
Yeah.
I have things to say.
Yeah.
I'm
Right?
over
And
here.
it's so small, and it's not
understand.
family trauma. It's not a history of abuse, domestic abuse, addiction. It is something so ridiculous that just has passed on to me.
It's a
That's
memory
not
bank.
stupid.
This is part of your memory bank.
That's
this is
right.
how you see things. These are feelings that you remember. They're feelings. Like, and I have a very similar example.
It's
Like, first of all,
interesting how the aroma has
Right.
has trickled through your
scent.
years.
Absolutely. And I have an example. First of all, I've done both, right? I've like dived headfirst into everything my mom did
Yep.
with the coffee and the cigarettes and the
Yes.
drinking.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
And then I've also like not. I've also been like, oh, I gotta back the fuck up. I have like happy memories of like coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah.
And I have really bad memories of coffee and cigarettes. And like when I moved into my home that I live in now, the kitchen was like this shade of like cream yellow. Okay. And I'm like, I hate my kitchen. Everybody's like, you have a beautiful kitchen. I'm like, I hate the color of the kitchen. They're like, it's a nice kitchen. And I'm like, no, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when my mom used to smoke in the house. And I remember my dad got so pissed off once that he like unhinged the cabinet of the kitchen and he went outside and he scrubbed it back to white. And said, look at what's happening in our home. Like our cabinets are turning yellow because you're smoking in the house. Imagine what's happening to our daughter. So like, you know, I have those triggers too.
Yeah. It's wild. And that's why I say we don't know what we're passing.
But those are like,
we don't know what we're passing on to our
But
kids.
those are like the little T things. It's like the everyday little things that like happen. And those aren't like devastating traumatic events.
Yeah.
No.
It's just a foggy thing for you that you carried with you.
So, as we said earlier, guys, you know, she has her own podcast, killing it.
Thank you.
Yes.
And so I'm a particular fan of the solo episodes.
Thank you.
I feel like it's where the audience gets to know you more, best. That's how I found about your mother, your relationship with your mother. That's how I found out about some of like this season of life that you're in right now.
Thank you.
You recently had one in May that was, I think it was, are we fucking crazy?
Are we all up?
Are we all f***ed up?
Yeah.
That's what it was. Are we all f***ed up? I feel like people toss around the word trauma. Trauma, I'm traumatized. Oh my God, we're trauma bonding. Oh my God, trauma. It's like a hit word right now. What do you call those? Like
it is a hit
buzzwords. It's like
Definitely.
trauma is the new gaslighting.
I mean, but all of it is happening. Like,
No, it's all
gaslighting-
happening.
Everybody's gaslighting. Everybody's a narcissist. Everybody's been traumatized. But like, yes.
Yes, also.
But like also yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have to deal with that shit.
And we think about it. We have to give ourselves grace too right now
Yeah.
because we're all just coming out of this pandemic.
Yes.
It's just been a little f***ed up.
Yeah. Alexis, who doesn't curse, said it.
She did.
She said it.
out.
Don't beep
It's
that.
been
Don't beep that one. No, but you're right. But anyways,
Beautiful.
So the traumas. So we're listening to the episode. You bring up
Yes.
2 types of traumas.
Yeah.
Not just the buzzword trauma. She breaks it down. So tell us the Nikki version of what big T and little T's are.
Big T trauma is usually something that has like a major event, the loss of a parent, a car accident, a like severe repeated physical abuse, the loss of any loved one, you know. Little T trauma is more of like your day-to-day heavy things that you might experience, like being exiled by your friend group at school, even like bullying, that would fall under little T trauma.
Yeah.
Like being made fun of. Those types of things are more like on the day-to-day, like they're not necessarily in your like major life event category.
I think part of the way you use it too was events that don't include violence or disaster.
Okay, right. So
Violence
sure,
or
violence
disaster.
Big
disaster.
T's have
Right.
violence and disaster
Yes.
attached. Little T's have no.
Thank you for listening
And
to my
taking
show.
no- taking
And
notes.
taking notes because I don't remember what I said. So that's where it is, and I think everybody has some of both. I used to teach at an inner city middle school in Little Havana, where most of the kids were Black and Hispanic, and were on free and reduced lunch, right? And took like 3 city buses to get to school, and who knows if they ate on the weekends,
Right.
You know what I mean? And I remember thinking like, okay, I know that this child's mom is on drugs. I know that this child takes his 3 younger siblings to the elementary school and then shows up in dirty, smelly clothes. And that's why he's falling asleep in my class. And I remember thinking they probably look at me like this white privileged woman, which is true, right? Who's their teacher telling them to get their shit together in the classroom,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I had to work through that for myself because I remember thinking like, I see you. My life was full of the big T's too, you know what I mean? Like with my mom and like me having to feed myself and me having to take care of her and like nothing was what it seems on the outside. And so the reason why I bring that up is like not to compare, because I don't think that there should ever be a comparison between anybody's trauma, but I think that it is all relative.
Absolutely.
Right? So like you have your life of unique circumstances that you grew up thinking is normal.
Yep.
It's normal for me to take the bus to school. It's normal for me to have clothes that smell like this. It's normal for me to wake up with my mother having a coffee and a cigarette. This is normal for me in my world.
That's right.
In my world, it was normal for my mom to fall asleep at 5, 6 o'clock and for me not to have dinner and for me to have to take her upstairs and like make sure that she was in clean underwear and clothes.
Yeah.
That was normal. On the outside, we know that both scenarios are not normal.
No, right.
No. They're not.
And they can be different on the scale of severity, but still have the same weight of impact on that individual.
Absolutely.
But also then how they carry that
How they
through
carry
the
it through their
world.
life. Yeah.
In the world. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously at 12, 13, 14, 15, you don't know.
No.
But then when you're 20, 25, you're on your own, or, you know, you have your losses, you have your big T's that happen, then you're like, wait a minute. Okay, let me go back to where this could have impacted this.
I have that conversation with one of my favorite guests, whose name is George Ovaya, and he was a man that I taught with, and I shared a lot of like my dark feelings with him, and he and his wife helped me through that a lot. And we talk about how even your perception of your trauma will change over time as you grow. How I feel about what happened to me when I was little in my 20s is different from how I feel about it now that I'm in my 30s, which might be different once I'm in my 40s, and so on and so forth, because you grow and you learn and you perceive things differently, and you have to allow yourself the grace to allow it to change.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't have to stay committed to one storyline for your life. Like, you don't have to like say, this is my story and I identify with this story and this is my story. And I think we have to give ourselves permission to change, like the right to change. I have the right to change my mind.
Yes.
I have the right to change how I feel about something.
Yeah.
I reserve the right to be wrong.
Yeah.
About what I thought.
Yeah.
Like how often do we hold on to like I was right in that moment when like I reserve the right to be wrong.
Well, so that's a key point. Another thing you touched on in your episode, that a lot of times people say it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond.
Right.
It's
So-
like the overall arching statement that people say all the time.
They say that. Easy to say that. It's easy to say, oh, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you. But how you respond to what happens to you, like, depends on what already happened to you and how you learn to respond to it.
The first response to your natural feelings was to run to alcohol or to whatever, which is what you knew.
Yeah.
The only way you knew how to respond was escapism prior. And then you got into the world and you met people who met their fucking problems head on.
Yeah.
And you met people who didn't run.
Yeah.
And you had other examples
That's
that
right.
say, oh, now I can learn to be
Yes.
different, right? The way that you're responding to shit, like you said, is what you know, and that's okay.
Yes.
In the moment when you were self-medicating, that was all you knew.
And there, on that point, like, you have to come to a place where you're able to forgive yourself for the things that you did when you were in survival mode.
Correct.
Absolutely.
100%.
like,
Absolutely.
100%.
I agree 100%.
I feel like now, I think that the phrase that it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond, I think that it's overplayed. And one of the things that I touch on in that episode also is that, like, it's how we feel about what happens to us. We get really like spiritual and, you know, Eckhart Tolle over here, like being really, really present, getting really, really present on how something makes you feel and assessing it. Like, a lot of times we have a gut punch reaction. We like an instinctual reaction.
Very
like, I have a fear of abandonment. Oh my gosh, that is my ism. Like, one of my many isms. I have a lot of isms. I have I have alcoholism. I have a shoppingism. I have there's a list of the isms, right? So I have a fear of abandonment. And like, I get severely triggered when I think I'm being abandoned.
Yeah.
And that can present in like 100
Many
million ways.
That's right.
You know, and what is my gut response is to like hold on to it really tight.
Yeah.
I wanna, like,
it.
grab it.
Yes.
Or like, hold on. I'm like,
Yeah.
don't you do that.
Yeah.
Don't you go anywhere. Whether
You
that,
know?
I mean, that could be money,
It could
right?
be
Like, it could be
anything.
anything. It could
Yeah.
be like
Yeah.
an experience, like holding on to it. And so I have to like sit back and say, oh my gosh, wait, how do I feel right now that this thing, person, experience is leaving me? What is that feeling? I feel left alone. Okay, well, now what do I do about that feeling?
Feeling
I have
left
to
alone.
feel myself. I have to know that I'm not alone because I always have my back. Because I'm always here.
That's right.
Because I got me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, that is loaded, right? Like, it's so hard. Like, how do we do that? How do we shift like the neural pathways to be able to stop and pause instead of like reacting in the moment how we are instinctually programmed?
I'll tell you how. Just doing exactly this. To get on your podcast and talking through it.
That's
to
right.
create spaces like this where women can be like,
Me too.
help me figure
Yes,
it out.
yes.
What
Whoa,
is
I had
happening?
that happen
Like,
to me.
I'm also on the train that like everybody has a podcast and everyone doesn't need one.
Same here.
But I also want to continue to push women to be like, have that conversation.
Yeah.
So that the next time that I feel like something's slipping from my grip, because I have that same feeling too, I have a fear of abandonment, right? I can remember, oh shit, Nikki definitely says at this moment to reflect on why you're reacting this way.
Well, I think that's like the power of community, and what we're seeing happen in today's world is a really beautiful shift in the power of community. And I know from personally working a 12-step program is that like I've heard so many stories from so many different alcoholics and different things, and it's like the same shit in different gift wrapping. It really is. It's like everybody has the same feeling, the same fear, the same desire, you know, but it's all just packaged different. It's packaged differently. It's just in different gift wrapping, really.
Women particularly, we are all on the same journey to womanhood.
Yeah.
No. What happened to your grandmother?
Yep.
Happened to your mother? Happened to you.
That's right. We go back to this generation.
And will likely happen.
yes.
And I mean struggles with jobs and your career, with your partners, what it means to manage your family, physical insecurities, like all of that is shit that is on the journey to womanhood.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through it. It's how you navigate that journey that's different. Sometimes we get held up at that red light and we just stay there.
Yeah. It's easy to get stuck. You know,
It's easy
really
to get
is.
stuck.
It's really easy to get
really
stuck.
is.
And it's
Easy to
hard,
get
and
stuck.
it's easy to get stuck, and it's hard to get unstuck. Oof, getting unstuck is really
That's right.
hard.
That's right.
Because we get in our head and we like can't, and we like ruminate, and it's hard to take the next step. And like sometimes you know the next right thing to do, and you know it's gonna make you feel better, and you just can't even bring yourself to do it.
No.
You know, and sometimes what's even more of a mindful is that like sometimes the pain is so comfortable that we'd rather stay
in it.
It's like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, the devil I don't know is better. I don't give a shit.
It's
Like-
interesting. I'm in that phase right now with my health. I am so unhappy physically with my body. When I tell you that I on some days cannot figure out how to get myself to the gym. Can't figure it out. Know that I'm angry, know that I'm unhappy,
Right.
have
Knowing this
taken a
is the
shower, have looked in the mirror, have
Yeah.
paid for a monthly Pilates, have
Yeah.
paid for the monthly gym membership.
Yeah.
The money is going out,
Yeah.
the intention is there, and I cannot, for whatever reason, for the
like,
first
no,
time
I'm
in
not
my
going.
life, connect those two pieces.
Interesting.
And I'm struggling because I've never had trouble connecting those pieces. I know if you show up here for 14 days, you will absolutely get the results you want.
Right,
There is no
absolutely,
question.
absolutely.
There's
And you
not
know
a
it.
debate.
You know,
There's
right,
not. I
right.
know it.
And you know better.
But for whatever reason, there is something else happening in my
Yes.
life, and I don't know
Within
what
you.
it is yet, that is holding up my ability to push that part of me forward, despite knowing how to do it,
Yeah.
despite having all the tools
And the resources, right?
and the resources.
Yeah.
I literally have just something else.
It is something else.
Something else is clogging that
It's like
up.
some type of self-sabotage that you need to sit with.
Isn't that wild?
Also, Ashley, just like thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that, because I think like nobody really wants to admit like I don't like my body. Right? Especially now where like everybody's like body positivity,
Yes.
like love your curves and love your being skinny and
Yeah.
love your
Yeah,
this
yeah,
and like
yeah.
love that. And that's amazing. Yes, but like so it's almost like we're not allowed to say like I'm unhappy with how
Yes.
I look. Because we're forcing this narrative, and it's not forcing, it's a great thing, because all bodies, yes, are beautiful, but we're also allowed to sit with the fact that like I want to look and feel differently.
And I have it within me and all the means. I am physically healthy. My two f***ing limbs work. Like I could go walk on the. I am not of any. I don't have any ailments, any disabilities that
Nothing
can
hindering
stop
your
me
flow.
from
Yes.
going out and doing this, except for this mental
It's a
block
mental
that I
block.
have.
And it's hard to take that step sometimes. It's just really hard to take that step sometimes. You know, and we're talking about this in the conversations that women have. I was really fortunate enough to get invited to a women's money empowerment luncheon,
Interesting.
which is another topic that women don't talk about. Like women are not supposed to talk about money for like so many reasons, right? Like why can men have the conversation about money? Why can men have the conversation about money? Like I want to come to a place where I have financial confidence, competence, and can talk to other women about how I want to invest my money, how I want to grow money. When I'm talking to you behind the scenes, I'm like, how are you monetizing your podcast? How do I do this? Who do I need to get in touch with?
Yes,
How do I do
yes.
this? Like, there's enough.
As we should.
There's enough wealth, success
Oh yeah.
for all of us.
Oh yeah.
Everybody.
Like, I'm not trying to hoard it.
No, we
I'm
have
trying to give
we
it
have to be more
away because
vocal.
when you give it away, you get it back tenfold.
You have to check out. We
That's
had an
right.
episode with Shay. She is a financial wealth advisor.
Oh, I
And
know Shay. I'm trying to get her on my show.
Yeah, she's so good. She came
Shay.
in. She came
Bon
on.
Shay,
and
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we had that exact conversation. Like, how come I don't know where you're investing your money?
Yeah, right.
What? Like, wait. How come I can't figure? How come we're not working together to be like, girl, we can return this,
Yes.
or hey, you have a little extra change, I have a little extra. Why don't we put it in this?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
We're not
Yes.
having those conversations. I'm saying I have nothing to wear because I can't go to dinner. I'm not actually saying I cannot drop another $200 this week.
That's right.
I can't actually. I shouldn't.
'Cause
It's a
it's
bad
better-
choice. It's a
it's-
terrible decision for me this week, girl. But we don't want to do that because we don't want to let our friends down, and we don't want them to look at us away, and we don't want them to think we're irresponsible because she just saw me buy that thing, but now I can't afford dinner. Like,
Right.
It's like
all that pressure,
all
all
of
of
it,
that
all of
heaviness.
it, all of it, all of
We-
it, all of it,
Again,
all of
we
it.
have to give ourselves grace. Like, we really do. Like,
Stop having small talk.
Yeah.
And
I
start
can't do
having deep talk.
we have to.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're wasting your
Our
time.
our
Why are we
time.
here? Yeah,
Our
why are we
time is
here?
so precious.
So I will say that like that's
So
part of
precious.
like why going out is harder for me is because like I don't have time to be I can't do the superficial shit. Like it's
a
really
lot
hard
of
for
it.
me.
It's a lot
I'm
of
like
it.
tell me your biggest fears in
Yep.
life. I'm like at
Nice
the
to
party.
meet you, Nikki. What are you afraid of most?
Right. I'm like and that's like not socially appropriate sometimes. So people are like weird chick.
So this is a podcast about first and last.
Right.
So we got a first time question for you and we got a last time question for you.
Okay.
So since we just learned all about our big T's and little T's, it feels like a natural question. Can you tell us what was your first big T trauma?
So my first big T trauma. I'm not sure like psychologically where this falls on the big T or little T, but for me, like I identify it as a very big T trauma that affected how I feel about being abandoned. And when I was little, I got mad at my mom. Duh. Probably because of the drinking situation. And so I said, I'm running away. I'm leaving. And my dad was at the fire station. And so I packed up my little red wagon with like my stuffed animals. And I was like, I'm leaving. She goes, good, don't come back. And I'm like, fine, right? I was like 4 or 5 years old. And I have all my stuffed animals in the red flyer wagon thing. And I walk down the street. It's dark. And I'm like, oh, snap, I better go back home. Like, where am I going to go? This is not the plan. This is why I had no plan. I had no plan. Yeah. This is not working out, right? So I go back home. And I knock on my door. And my mom looked out the window. And she walked away from the door. And she left me outside. And I slept on my doormat that night. And my dad came home in the morning and saw me sleeping on the doormat.
Wow.
It was actually a joke. Like, we would joke about this, like, throughout my entire life. Where it's like, oh my gosh, haha, remember that time you threatened to run away and we left you on the stoop, ha ha ha. Like, that's how it would get told at, like, family, like, things. And I'm like, this is not fucking funny.
You're like, actually, you should have brought me in.
Oh my gosh, I had to do like hypnotherapy. Like my hypnotherapist would be like, okay, do this with your eyes, do this with your eyes to like detach. Now play music, play funny music while you're recalling this memory. It was, yeah, it really, really affected me.
And I'm
So
sure
that's
that you
not-
probably like have gone through other things even so that
Yeah,
like,
I know, like bigger things.
but it doesn't affect you the same.
Doesn't affect me the same.
Okay, well,
I
you have
think-
a couple big T's.
Yeah.
You have a couple big T's.
Yes, yes.
What are your last time question? What was the last like little T?
I have a couple. When I was in middle school, I got really bullied for my ears. My ears stuck out. So I wound up getting surgery on my ears to have them pulled back. So like they were like Elfie ears, like they stuck out like this, and like people, strangers would come
Say
to me
something.
like I'd be at Venetian Pool here in Miami in Coral Gables, and like people would be like, "Oh my gosh, look at your ears!" I'd be like, "I don't know you."
Yeah, really?
Yeah, like so I got picked on a lot, and in back in the day in Kendall, and I'm sure all over Miami. There was this thing called a slam book, and it was like social media, and so your name would be in this composition book.
no.
And the book would travel to school, and you'd like get the book, and you'd like flip to your name.
You're
and,
like,
like see all the
what
things.
is somebody
And they would
saying
all
about
talk
me?
about my ears. And it was little T trauma though, like,
Yeah.
right? Like
No, I
bullying,
feel you.
bullying,
I feel you.
yeah.
Totally.
I got
That's
surgery.
really-
I begged
yeah.
my parents. I would tape my ears back at night and like hope that my
That's
ears
how they would grow.
stick.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, so I got the surgery, and then in my 20s, I was pissed off at my parents because I'm like, you should have taught me how to love myself and that I was beautiful no matter what. And now in my 30s, I'm like, I love my fucking ears. Who
Yeah,
cares?
I made the best decision.
I'm like, I made the best decision ever. Thank goodness.
Yes,
It's
yes.
amazing they stopped picking on me. Oh my gosh. Little T traumas. I mean, there's that.
I appreciate everything that you've shared here today.
Yes, thank you.
Alexis and I are mama's girls. We are two people that only sit on this and talk about what it is to celebrate and love your mother. Everyone doesn't feel like that.
Nope.
Thank you for being the voice for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Nikki, why don't you tell the people right here in this camera where they can find you, follow you, listen to you, all that good stuff.
You guys, you can find me on Instagram at Nikki Spo, and my podcast is called the Know With Nikki Spo. It's streaming on YouTube and on every single podcasting platform. That's where you can find me. I hope you check it out. It's also available on www.nikkispo.com.
Till next time, ladies. Cheers.
Cheers.